Welcome back. I've got Tricia Brouk on the line. Tricia, how are you?
I'm awesome. How are you, Michael?
I'm just as awesome. Really, really looking forward to our conversation. And we had met many, many, many years ago, albeit briefly, at a podcast event in Tampa. And it's alarming how long ago that was. Because you say 2018 and you go, well, wait a minute. It's like it's 2025 now. That math adds up to that was a long time ago, especially what's happened over the last 5 years. But really interested in hearing what you've been up to, and why don't you share with the audience a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into the conversation.
Thank you, Mike. Well, I just want to congratulate both of us that we're still podcasting after all of those years. That's quite impressive, I have to say, now that you sort of put a highlight on that for us. I am, for those of you who have not met me, I am living and working in New York City. I moved to New York City over 30 years ago to pursue a career in dance. I moved from a small town in Missouri to New York City so that I could fulfill my dream of working in theater, film, and television. And that's what I did. And I'm literally right now in this moment that we're recording. I live on 55th and Ninth in Manhattan, and I look out the windows at the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater, and I get to watch all of the young dancers fulfilling their dreams now. And it's so rewarding. After pursuing my career in dance, I decided that I wanted to move into choreography, directing, producing, writing. And I then started working in film, television, and theater, and on the other side of the camera, on the other side of the table, if you will. And all of a sudden, a friend came up and said, I'm doing a TED Talk. Would you direct me? And I worked with her just like I did with actors. And it was just like a one woman show: script analysis, intention, blocking, choreography, performance. And she planted the seed that thought leaders, entrepreneurs, professionals, real estate agents, dentists, people who are speaking, they need this kind of support. And I thought, well, that's so interesting. And that's when I founded the Big Talk and my company. And I started working with thought leaders and teaching them how to effectively communicate for impact. And I've put thousands of speakers onto big stages. And I'm the strategic advisor to lots of professionals who want to create a speaker business, who want to have more impact, who want to learn how to communicate better with their team and create a more cohesive company culture. I've supported people like Catherine Garcia, who ran for mayor against Eric Adams in New York City. I've supported people who speak at the World Economic Forum in Davos about climate change, AI ethicists, human trafficking experts. I work with people who need to know how to communicate effectively for impact. And it's my goal and my dream and my mission to unite humanity through speech.
The work you're doing is extremely important. And you mentioned things like even there was an AI summit, a couple days ago, where we had world leaders talking about it. It's this innovative thing that we're all trying to catch up on, and from a usage standpoint, or how do entrepreneurs use it for, our benefit to help with our business, to global leaders to say, okay, how do we use this for good and protect ourselves from nefarious purposes that can be used in these types of things. So, it being able to articulate, and I watched part of that session yesterday, and I saw, and I'm not going to name any leaders because I don't want people being upset. I saw some that were obviously very, very good, and could grab your attention and bring you into the moment and bring you into the emotion of what they're saying and why they felt it was important. And then, I had another speaker that was up there that was obviously reading from a script, and while there was emotion, it wasn't real. It just felt like ugh. And we've been through, and obviously in the work you do, you've seen a bazillion presentations. But what's important is when you can grab the attention of somebody and you can bring them along and paint a picture in an environment that they are familiar with, or at least have some awareness of, that's when you can have some transformative change, maybe a different outlook, maybe not changing their mind on something, but at least bringing awareness to why this is such importance for you. And we lack that. We see it in politics all the time. There's just this polarizing black and white, and the world is not black and white. I think, and the media and everybody else, they have a short attention span for grabbing people's attention. But the thing that I long for is, okay, why does the president feel this is important? What's behind this? Why is the opposition fighting this? What's behind there? And bring those out so we can have a dialogue and connect. And in many cases, when you do that, and I've been part of many negotiations and dispute resolutions and all kinds of different things. And when you get it all boiled down and you can get past all the emotions and everything and actually see what people are feeling and why it's important to them and what they're actually thinking, you end up finding there's a lot of commonality and not as much difference as we see.
I agree.
So you you're looking out your window and you're seeing all of these future dancers on there. I mean, that's such a unique experience to be able to see, a field that you first went in. You left small town Missouri. My grandmother was from Cardwell, so it's a really small town too. So to go to New York, just getting past the overwhelm of, small town America to Manhattan, that walk us through that journey and some of the leadership lessons you've picked up along the way.
Well, I think to touch on what you were just saying about the way people use their voice and how important it is for us to understand the responsibility of taking a stage, that started way back when I was going to auditions. I learned how to lead myself because I heard no all the time. And I was able to use my own voice to say, it's not about you. It's just they're not buying what you're selling. Next, go to the next audition. Next, get the next job. Next. So the idea of being an influential voice is not only about how you communicate externally, it's how you communicate internally toward yourself as well. And being a young dancer, I had to really become aware of how I spoke to myself and how I held myself. And then I was able to translate that into my leadership role as a director when I was working with actors on a play in a room or on a musical that I wrote. It was my job to create a safe space so that they could explore the truth of the moment in the scene. It's the exact same thing that I do with my speakers. I create a safe space so that they can explore their truths in service of the audience. And going back to what you're saying, I truly believe, and if you're watching this, you can see that on my screen behind me, it says your voice matters. I truly believe all voices matter and that we can and should have differing opinions. It's not about having the same opinion, it's about using your influential voice with dignity, curiosity, respect, humility, and love so that we can respect one another and give space for all voices. And so, as a young dancer, I was giving voice to myself. And now I am giving voice to others and also modeling what it means to truly believe all voices matter. And that is my legacy. And that is the impact that I want to leave is that I have very specific views politically. And I'm very vocal with those views. And I also truly believe that the other side matters. And so when we start to think about leadership and how we lead and how we model what leadership looks like, it's inclusive, in my opinion.
I agree. I find time and time again there's a lot more in common than it's different. But one of the things that you said a moment ago that really made me think about this was finding your voice means that you have to look within. You have to kind of take a look at self. And in a lot of the work that I do with cognitive behavioral therapy and just working with people that are burning out and all of that is that's a room that a lot of people are afraid to look at. And it breaks my heart, quite frankly, because like it's you. Why don't you want to look at you? And
Mm.
past traumas and experiences and disappointments and missed opportunities, all of these things, they just pile up and they throw it into this room and they open up the door and it's, it's like a room that you never go into because it's just all chaotic. It's like, no, you need to unpack that room and make that room yours. You are who you are. Your experiences, the triumphs, the tragedies, all of those things are components that have made you who you are. Now you can lean on those to grow and overcome things that you're facing or recognize, look where I'm at. Look what I've been able to do. And a lot of people forget that. And helping them find their voice so they can take on whatever vocation they choose to choose is going to make a huge difference. And it ends up making people better. And as a society, we want people to be better versions of themselves because anything that they do, whether they're a dancer, a performer, a speaker, an actor, a pilot, a leader, janitor, teacher, accountant, lawyer, whomever, if they're the best version of themselves, we as a society are all better. We get better stuff, and we want that. So, help. I love the fact that you help people find that voice that they have, because we all need it. That's
We
why we're
do.
here.
We do need it. We do need to hear from you. There is one person out there who needs to hear from you specifically. And when you talk about the room full of all of the experiences and the traumas and all the junk room, if you will, where everybody kind of puts their stuff and is afraid to look, I invite you to open that door and look, because when you start speaking from the scar and not the wound, then that kind of vulnerability becomes empowering, not only for you, but also for your audience.
Oh, yeah, and sharing my burnout journey and the year that I had and losing everything and rebounding from that. And, here I am doing what I do today, and I'm ecstatic that I get to do it. I never would have picked this. I never would have said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do this and have a podcast show and write and speak and all the fun things I've got to do over these last, almost 10 years now." Um, I wouldn't have had that on my bingo sheet, quite frankly. I would like, no, I'm gonna stay in, executive leadership in nonprofit or healthcare or something like that. That was kind of the career path that I had thought I'd pave out until retirement. And then, something changed and I opened up that door and I looked in that room and I went, okay, let's see what I can what can I use from this? What are the
Yeah,
lessons here? What are the things that I can use to help people? Because I don't want anybody to go through what I went through, and I want people to be their best. I'm very selfish about that. I want people to be their best. I don't like people half-assing it through life. It's like, no, come on, you can crush it. Let's crush it because you crush it. Your life tastes better. You're better. You enjoy things. You Monday mornings, you're like desperate for Monday mornings. You're like, let's go. I want to get started. You feel bad. You want to reach out to people, but it's like, no, I don't want to bug them on a weekend. But it's like, come on, I want to go. And when you have a life that you design that way, where you taste life and live life better, then guess what? Your voice becomes amplified because the confidence you have within yourself just comes out, and you're like, no, I'm going to be strong and I'm going to be bold in what I'm going to say, but I'm going to do it in a way that is not combative to others and diminishing their voice. Their voice is very important to hear. I want to hear what they have to say and have that dialogue. And I think that's again with the power of story, which is so important. Why, again, your work is so critical is to help all of these people that have that voice to be able to find it and bring it out because the world needs it. It desperately needs it.
sure does. And when you decide to share your voice with the world, when you make the decision that what you have to say matters and you validate yourself and you start sharing, you're going to receive the feedback that you couldn't imagine, that you're helping someone, that you're changing their life, that you're impacting their culture, they're impacting their community. I have a client who is an endodontist, and she said, I am so terrified of speaking. Even when I do Zoom calls, I have a bucket next to me that I use because I feel like I have to throw up. And we began working together, and I said, I'm going to help you make root canals sexy. And we worked together for several years. And not only did she make root canals sexy, I learned so much about root canals that I absolutely love the idea of like knowing what makes a good root canal because nobody's talking about that. So she's done a TED talk. She speaks at conferences and makes no less than 30K a keynote. She's created an online program for dentists so that they can get the additional training that they need so that they can be amazing endodontists. And she does this effortlessly. It's not clinical because I've taught her and coached her and mentored her how to use her personal story in order to talk about something that most people can't even imagine being interesting, a root canal.
Well, it's ironic you mentioned that because the other day somehow I stumbled on something. I don't know if it was a TikTok video or something like that. It might have been from them. I don't know, but it was basically, describing, the intricate details of what a root canal is and how they do it. And I've had one, knock on wood, in my life, and I was younger when it happened. So I remember it happening and was done with it, but I didn't understand the whole process of it, and it was amazing to see it, but then to be able to articulate it in a story to improve, how people perform that procedure benefits all kinds of people because you
Yeah.
you you, you want it done right. And you mentioned too that she had a problem with speaking in the beginning where she basically had a bucket next door to her. And, when I was younger, I had a fear of speaking as well in school and all of that. I think, a lot of people do. And it took the chicken pox. I love sharing this story. It took the chicken pox for me to get over public speaking fears. And I was 21 years old when I got chicken pox, thanks to my brother who was 16 who got them. And I had them everywhere but my feet. So I'll let your imagination go how comfortable that was. So I was in, college at the time, and during my week of quarantine, I was supposed to give a presentation in a business writing class. And I, called the professor. It's like, I'm on quarantine. I can't come in. I'll be of it. Can I delay my talk till next week? Sure. So the next week comes. After out of quarantine, my face was all swollen and bumpy and red. I did not look human. I was not pleasant to look at by any stretch. But I'm like, I got to go and give this speech. And I was still obviously my typical nervous self about it, but I'm like, I got to get this done. So I walk into the class, everybody's looking at me and gasping at me, and I mean quietly, but I knew they were going to do it. I mean, come on, I understood. It's like, I was embarrassed by it, but I'm like, it's the reality. I can't change anything about it. Professor walks in, and she looks at me and she goes, Mike, can you come outside for a minute? And so we went out the classroom and said, look, you don't have to give the talk. I'll give you a C grade. You're passing anyway. You're still going to pass with, a really decent grade. But you don't have to give this talk. And I told her, I've been preparing for this talk for like 9 weeks. It's like, I'd like to give it. She's like, okay, if you feel uncomfortable, stop in between. So I gave my talk. It was an 8-minute presentation. I have no idea what it was about. But at the end, the entire class gave me a standing ovation. Now I now
Oh,
I can guarantee you that my talk was not that good. I know it wasn't. But the professor asked, "Why did you give Mike a standing ovation?" And they said, "If he can get up and give a presentation looking and feeling the way he did, he deserves a standing ovation." And that moment, my fear of speaking died and never had a problem with it again. Do I still get butterflies sometimes? Yeah, but it's that nervous energy because you're like, okay, I really want to make sure that I connect with these people because what I'm saying, I really want them to get better at what they're doing. So you get that, but the fear of, oh no, I got a 45-minute talk tomorrow. No, that's gone. Thanks to chickenpox of all things. But I share that story because everybody has these little things that come in life and it helps them overcome that fear of public speaking because once you get past that, boy, the doors it opens up and your life improves. So I highly encourage people to reach out to you to literally get their story out because the work that you've done and continue to do is absolutely amazing.
well, thank you. I would love to give your audience access to a free on-demand masterclass. It is called Command Any Room. And it is virtual, free, on demand. And if you just go to triciabrook.com/command, you can start watching it and work on the fear of speaking and learn how to command any room you walk into.
No, thank you for that generous gift because, again, I want everybody to be able to speak. It doesn't matter if it's a small group, their family, Thanksgiving dinner, whatever it is. I think hearing our voices and, connecting our soul and getting it out there, I think makes a big difference. So, Trish, love this conversation. Besides that link you just shared, where else can people find you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Tricia Brouk on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram at Tricia_Brook. And you can go to my website, triciabrook.com.
Awesome. I'll definitely have that in the show notes. So, Tricia, always good talking with you. Thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. You too.